everybody. This is your girl, Carla Renata, aka The Curvy Critic. Welcome to The Curvy Critic with Carla Renata. I am here every Sunday at 5 p.m. And what we do over here is we do reviews of films that are current releases. I do a section called Curvy Classics. I do Curvy Critic reviews. I do Around the Curve, all that kind of stuff. And every once in a while, I will have a live guest and or I will have taped interviews. Today, I have interviews with Colin Firth, Stanley Tucci, Danielle McDonald, Lucas Hedges from the films Supernova and French Exit. And I have a live guest, Miss Angie Wells, who is my girl. I'm so excited to talk to her, and I'm so excited for you guys to meet her. And I have some huge news. So, the news being, this is my 150th broadcast of The Curvy Critic with Carla Renata. I'm so incredibly excited. I'm so incredibly blessed and humbled that you guys have been hanging in here with me this long and coming to see every single show and just supporting me. I cannot tell you how much I wholeheartedly appreciate the support. Usually I do the Around the Curve segments and the Curvy Critic reviews. I'm not going to do too many reviews today. I'm just going to do a recap review of what's happening at the Sundance Film Festival because I have been there doing my thing. But before I do all of that, let me acknowledge who's in the chat room. We got Brandon Heaton, we got Liv Lewis that are in the chat room right now, and I'm sure it will grow as the time goes on. So there we go. I'm out of breath because I'm just excited. So I usually start the show out with talking about how my week went and what I did. So this week, as I said, marks the 150th show of The Curvy Critic. I am attending virtually the Sundance Film Festival virtually. 2021, child, is a situation. The opening night was Coda and Summer of Soul, which I'm going to talk about later on. And Questlove had like a super duper YouTube after party. My mom went to the premiere with me in my bedroom, in our robes and pajamas, because that's exactly what we were doing while we were watching it. But I was excited to be able to share this experience with my mom and my brother, since my love of film initially came from my mother's love of cinema. So that was really cool. The Farewell Amour film, which I've talked about here numerous times, I hosted and moderated a panel that was sponsored by IFC Films, William Morris Endeavor, and Oxfam, with the writer of the film, Ekwa Masangi, one of the stars in Today, the leading lady, Zainab, and a representative from Oxfam, Isra Shocker. So go over to the IFC film page on YouTube to check that out and check out that discussion. This week coming up, I will be moderating a town hall for the Casting Society of America, dealing with diversity. So be sure to check that one out. It is happening on February 1st at 12 o'clock Eastern Time, 9 o'clock Pacific Time. If you want more information about that, go to the Casting Societies of America site. So that is that. But before I move on to Angie, I really want to talk about the loss of two big heavyweights in the industry for me personally. So growing up, these two people were a part of my imaginary life as an actress. Those two people were Cicely Tyson and Cloris Leachman. I had the opportunity to interview Miss Tyson twice. The first time was over the phone, where I interviewed her about a film she had coming out called Last Flag Flying. And she said some things and it was great. So if you want to hear that particular interview, you can hop on over to any of my social media platforms. I have a portion of that interview up. And the second time I interviewed her is when she received her hand and footprints at the Chinese Theater here in Hollywood. She was crying. I was crying. It was a situation. But for me, it was more than me interviewing somebody that was receiving their star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. For me, it was interviewing a legend, somebody who always carried themselves with grace. With grace and dignity in our industry. For Black women, she always played strong Black female characters on screen, and she consistently reminded me in her presence in doing so that I could do that too. She made me believe that the impossible was impossible. So rest in peace, Miss Cicely Tyson and Miss Cloris Leachman. All right, so having said that, there are two films that are out that are two of my favorite films. They have female empowerment issues in both of them tied to the films, but more importantly, they got a makeup artist who I met on the set of Men, Women, and Dogs. I know y'all don't know that show because it ain't even on the air no more. I don't even think it stayed on the air for very long, but it starred Bill Bellamy, and it was he was the star of the show, and I came on to do a guest star as like a animal control officer or something. And Angie Wells was one of the makeup artists on that set. Angie, look at her. She looking fabulous. Don't she look fabulous, y'all? Angie Wells she's so sweet and she's so kind. And when I called her and was like, I hadn't talked to her in years, I probably haven't seen her since we were on that set. But when I called Miss Angie Wells and I said, yo, would you mind coming on to my podcast to talk about being a makeup artist in Hollywood, where we don't see very many people of color? And we're going into Black History Month next week. Actually, tomorrow's February 1st. And I wanted to kick it off with somebody that's doing something that people are not aware people aren't aware that there are Black people that are makeup artists that work with A-list celebrities. And Angie is one of them. She did the makeup for Carey Mulligan on Mudbound and on Promising Young Woman, which is streaming right now. She also did the makeup for SYLVIE'S Love, which is also streaming right now. So I'm going to let Angie tell you more about her story and stop yabbering on. So, ladies and gentlemen of the internet and the cyberspace, welcome to the Curvy Critic with Carla Renata, Miss Angie Wells.
How are you?
Hi, Angie.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on, girl. I'm so excited that you're here. So let me fix. I got circles in my face and carrying on. Okay, there we go. So first of all, let's talk about your journey into being a makeup artist, because I think it's a little similar to mine, as I think you may have been a performer first and kind of segued into that lane. Am I wrong in that assessment?
Actually, no, it went the other way around. I guess in a way it's kind of an interesting story because my path was not straight. You know, as a teenager, I modeled, and that's when I started doing makeup because my agent noticed that, you know, I always looked really fresh on my go-see appointments, and she liked the way sometimes I would do like a photo shoot and I would just do my own makeup instead. And so she started asking me to help some of the other girls in the New Faces division to help them with their makeup. Meanwhile, you know, my parents were like, you're going to go to college, and that's what it is because that's what we need to do. And so, you know, I did go to college. I stopped modeling and I went to college. And while I was in school, you know, I changed my major several times, but I became a corporate trainer while I was going to college. I got laid off from that position. And then I became a hairdresser. So, okay, I did that for a while, but after the hairdressing thing, I sort of did image consulting, which took the whole view into place. Like for corporate women, I would do hair color adjustments and do their colors and go clean out their closets, all that stuff. But eventually I made it to makeup.
You're like, eventually I got over there.
Eventually I got over
that
there.
makeup.
But the photo that you showed earlier is from the other side of my life, which is my jazz singing career. So yes, I did that. But
that's why I showed it. You just look fantabulous in it. So I was like, I believe if I'm going to have somebody here to talk about them or have them talk about themselves, I need for people to see them in the best light possible. So I was like, you are the diva in that picture. I love it. It's the white with the roses, everything. So continue, my bad.
No, thank you. I hope I didn't disappoint you all because my face ain't looking like that picture today. I don't have that lighting today in my house. Thank you. I did have a ring light and I had hoped to set it up, but you know, I was having a little issues with getting myself set up, so I lost my little ring light time.
That's okay. That's okay. That's all right. I can see your bright shining face. It's all good. So talk about how we know how you got started. Can you tell us a little bit about how you ended up getting to the point as a makeup artist, as a Black female makeup artist to be specific, how you got to the point where people were calling you going, yo, Angie, can you be the lead on this movie?
You know, it's interesting. My makeup career, I literally have been very blessed. I almost literally started as a department head almost. I had a couple jobs while I was in makeup school once I moved out here, you know, working as additionals in other people's makeup departments. But I had a wonderful mentor who became my agent. She was one of the first Black makeup artists in the industry, in the earlier part of the industry, who was working with bigger names. And she mentored me and sort of took me under her wing. Her name is Marietta Carter Narcisse. And she said to me, look, you know, you're department head material, because I had worked corporate. I came from the corporate world in sort of a management position. So she said, I think we need to start putting you out there as a department head. And literally my first like official job was department heading 10 films for BET back to back. They did this series called Arabesque, which was like a Black Harlequin romance novel series. So I got to meet a lot of Black Hollywood because it was 10 films back to back.
Mm-hmm.
So that was great. And that was kind of how I started. And I pretty much department headed from then on. I mean, even when you met me on Men, Women, and Dogs, I was the department head of that show as well. So I guess, you know, what happened was that my name got out there. People realized that I, you know, knew how to run a department. I'd get stuff done on time. We'd stay in budget, and have a happy trailer, because that's really important. Really.
Yes, it was fun in your trailer, that's for sure. We had a good time. We sure did.
It's fun. Fun is definitely important for the actors, especially since people have to come to work at like 5 o'clock in the morning sometimes, and you need to make it fun.
Yeah, I had to go to work at 5 o'clock in the morning all the time. So there's that. But I digress. Continue.
So I guess what basically ended up happening was that, you know, my name started getting out there and I started getting calls, and it just kind of kept going. And I basically, I guess, kind of got in the loop, and I would meet, and when I would meet people that I wanted to work with, I would always make a play for them. You know, I'd send emails to people. Actually, I started so long ago that you actually sent snail mail. Like you actually wrote somebody a letter. Like, I don't think people do that much anymore, but
no, they don't do it at all anymore. I saw a video where a child didn't even know what a mailbox was. She knew what the mailbox was, but she didn't know how to put the mail in the mailbox.
Yeah, a friend of mine told me,
that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, a friend of mine told me they had an experience. They hired somebody and she didn't know how to address an envelope.
Oh my God, just a lot going on.
Yes, a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. So anyway, basically, I would write people and say, you know, I'd like to work with you at some point, or I'd call makeup artists that I admire and say, you know, hey, if you have something, I'd like to work with you. And I purposely said to myself, I am not going to allow myself to be pigeonholed as a Black makeup artist. Not that there's anything wrong with being a Black makeup artist. But I knew that if I allowed myself to be categorized and put in a box that way, that it would be very hard to get out at some point.
Yeah.
Especially since when I started, the industry wasn't dealing with the things that it's dealing with now. You know, so it basically was that there were very few of us. There were very few projects for us to do. And I realized that if I got sort of put in a box, I would basically only be doing sitcoms, because that seemed like that's what was happening for us at the time when I started my career.
Wow. Do you think that things have opened up a little bit more because of Black Lives Matter and all this onslaught of diversity talk? Do you think it's opened up and where people just see a makeup artist for being an artist and not the color of the skin being reflective in what their art is possible to do?
I think it's absolutely happening now. I mean, I was part of this summer, our union formed a diversity committee, and I was one of the people that, you know, was on the committee. And we had a town hall, we had a bunch of discussions, and we found our allies because there are allies. There are people who want to help. And so I do feel that there's definitely a difference based even on the amount of Black films that are out this year.
It's a lot.
The amount of Black television shows that are out this year. The people of color, period. It's just becoming more diverse. And that is wonderful, because the more diverse it becomes in front of the camera, it makes it have to follow behind the camera.
Let's hope so. Let's hope so anyway.
I believe it's happening. I mean, the studios are, seeking out, starting to do programs with young people to try to help, kids who never even thought that this would be a possibility as a career for them. They're bringing them into internships. The Academy is doing the same thing. I know that I think what has basically happened is that they realized there's no choice. Like, you have to now, because the actors are demanding it. And as a result of what happened this summer, I even realized when I was reading now that the Academy is even changing, their requirements. If your film doesn't have some diversity, either behind the scenes, or then it's probably not going to even make it to you're not going to get to the last round for voting.
I want to pause there for a second and ask you this. How do you feel about that? Do you think that is counterintuitive, or do you feel like, you know what? I really don't want to work with somebody who feels like they have to have me in their budget or on their team because the Academy said so?
I have two feelings about that. I think that you can work it to your advantage. So I have certainly been called before because I was Black, and I knew exactly why I was getting the call.
Well, we all have.
We've all gotten that call.
That's the reality of what we're dealing with.
Exactly. And instead of saying to myself, okay, well, all right, they just calling me because I'm Black, I'm going to go in here. I'm going to do a damn good job, a real good job. And they're going to remember my name, because that's what's going to happen.
Fame!
I didn't even think of it like that.
I had to go there. When you said they have to remember my name, I'm like, all I could hear was fame.
No, it's live forever.
That's all I could hear. I was like, Angie. Yeah.
But yeah, it was like, I'm going to go in. I'm going to be a real professional. I'm going to do a great job. And, they will be able to say, oh, well, she's a great worker. That's all I want you to be able to say. She works well. She did a great job for us. There was no drama. She came in and, was there when we needed. And what happened was, your name starts to circulate around within the crowd that you're not part of, but your name starts getting around. And then what happens is people say, oh, well, she's really good. And then they stop thinking of you as
a color
Black makeup artist, because you know what you're doing. And that's really all it is. I mean, to me, I feel like for us, we need to, make sure we have our skill levels straight. We need to be professional, just like everybody else. And I know that there are times when we could be doing all those things and things still not be fair. Trust me, I'm not disillusioned. I get it. But you have a better chance of evening the playing field if you have all your ducks in a row. And quite frankly, at this point, people are looking to be, diversifying their departments. And like I said, I think now is not the time to be annoyed about getting that call. Go in and do a damn fine job. That's what I say.
Amen to that, Sister Angie. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Don't
snaps and claps for that. Snaps and claps for that. Where's the basket for the offering? Where's the basket for the offering at? Okay, for y'all watching, this is what we sound like on the telephone. When we're talking on the telephone, this is what it sounds like. But I'm not going to hold you much longer, because what you said has been so incredibly insightful and and really great. And I'm so happy that we could have this brief discussion. I'm hoping that at a later date we can have a more of a deep dive about it, because there's so many more questions that I want to ask you and talk to you about. But I wanted to get your thoughts about the article that showed up in the trades over the summer, the one where they talked about the black hair and the black makeup, and how the lack of diversity would cause actresses to pause for the cause, show up on set with your own hair, show up on set with your own curlers, show up on set with your own makeup, because 9 times out of 10, you show up on the set and you can see the panic come across their face when you walk into the trailer. As a woman of color who is an artist in those trailers, did you experience the reverse of that, walking into having talent walk into a trailer that wasn't us? And your thoughts on that article?
Yeah, let me see where I want to start with this. I can say that only once did I have somebody act funny with me in my chair. I haven't really had that problem. And I think that maybe sometimes people might have felt funny, but they knew that it would be politically incorrect to express that.
I know, but you can read energy. You know what I mean?
You can read energy. Yeah, you can. And I have to say, I really have not had that bad of a time. I've been fortunate. But I also think it's the people that you work with. Like, there are these two brothers, and when I say brothers, I mean they're literally blood brothers. They're not brothers.
They're not brothers. Okay.
They're brothers, but they produce shows. And they're white, and they always had, like, their shows were white shows, or shows that had some black actors, but mostly a white cast. But they always hired me, and they always hired my friend Kimmy. And literally, they were BLM before BLM was popular. And I remember people would walk into the trailer, black actors would walk into the trailer, and they would see me and Kimmy, and they'd be like, "Oh my God, I didn't expect to see y'all here." I said, these brothers hire us for every show they had and had our backs. I remember one time, one of them saying to an AD that was giving me a lot of drama, he said, "Let me explain something to you. Do you understand you'll be gone before she is? You need to understand that." So they had my back. So I worked with people like that. So I was fortunate. And I was fortunate that I had actors who, most of the time, I think as long as you beat their face properly and you're nice, they're usually happy.
All right.
As far as I was, but on the other side, as a model, and as I've experienced that when I modeled, it used to be, "Oh, you don't need foundation."
Oh, so I was just telling my brother that the other day. I was literally just saying to my brother, I showed up on a commercial shoot one time, and they looked at my face. They're like, "Your skin is so beautiful.
So
you don't need no makeup." And I was like, that's code for I don't know how to do your makeup.
Right.
Because both of us are on extreme ends of the spectrum.
Right.
You are a nice chocolate Hershey's brown, and I'm caramel colored. So my complexion is smack dab in the middle. It's not light, it's not dark, it's in the middle. And sometimes people don't know how to mix that. But continue. I had to.
No, that's being a real conversation. We're talking real stuff that happens.
Real talk, real.
And I have been in trailers where I've seen, where I've not been always, the department head all the time, but where I've gone to work on some things, and I've seen that moment when I've seen somebody getting their hair destroyed, or I've seen. And what I'm going to say about that is that folks know those days are over. Actors are speaking up. We are speaking up. When we had our town hall, we talked about the fact, it's like, look, if we're in the trailer and we see something that looks crazy, and we come over to you discreetly and say, "You know what? That foundation, you might want to warm that up a little bit." Or, don't get offended. because we see us and we're trying to help you.
Boom. We're trying to help you. And I think that's what gets lost in the process. People don't realize, like, I'm going to share this just because we having this real talk. I was on a set where one makeup artist had started my look and then somebody else came in midstream. And you know how y'all have those templates, those white pieces of paper templates where you put the colors on it? So this young lady looked at that template and wasn't using the colors that were on the template. She was trying to be creative and go like another way to come close to those colors, but not really those colors, and turned me away from the mirror so that I couldn't see what she was doing. And when she turned me around, I looked like a clown. And I was like, I said, did so-and-so leave you the bag and the instructions of the stuff that she used on me yesterday? And she took that white piece of paper and held it up like this and said, yeah, she gave me this. And I lost my Black mind. And I turned around and said, that piece of paper is white. I'm not.
Right.
I don't know what those colors are on that paper, but those are not the colors that were on my face yesterday. So you know what? I got this. Don't worry about it. And I got up and I left the trailer. And when I said that, the whole trailer got quiet. And it was a show that I recurred on. So I had been there for 4 years. This was during the last season. And I was just annoyed at the blatant disrespect that I was given as somebody who had been there for 4 years, that they didn't care what I looked like on screen. I was supposed to just sit there and shut up and let them make me look like a clown on TV. I wasn't having it. I'm like, no. I'm like, I got this. I will go and fix this and do it myself. Really though? No.
Yeah, I mean, to me, in that, when I was saying earlier about us knowing our skill, same counts for them as far as I'm concerned.
Exactly.
They need to know their skill.
Exactly.
The people who, we talked about this in our town meeting. When go learn, like the stuff is out there. This product, go to Sephora and play with some brown colors and
play with some brown colors. Get you a brown palette.
Watch some of these Instagram and YouTubes and whatever. There's go learn.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you got to go. I know.
No. I wasn't gonna say that. What I was gonna say was, this is a conversation that is sorely needed and needs to happen often, not just when Black History Month is about to pop around, not just when somebody want to have a conversation about Black Lives Matter. Like it just needs to be part of the everyday conversation, not just when it's when someone thinks it's feasible to have that conversation or convenient to have that conversation. At the top of the show, I said that there's going to be a town hall tomorrow for Black actors that the Casting Society of America is hosting, and I'm moderating it. And I'm prepared that it's about to be.
Twinkie is doing that with you?
Yes, Twinkie is co-moderating with me. It's gonna be a situation, and Yvette Nicole Brown is on that panel.
Okay.
Keith Davis on that panel. We have some casting people on that panel, directors, producers, like people from all different lanes that have to deal with casting are going to be in that conversation. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna. What I felt was, when we had our town hall. We knew, we said some people gonna go home upset today, but
whatever.
Oh, well,
be upset.
We've been going home upset for years. Thank you. Just so
we've been upset for 400 years. I'm not really trying to go there. Please.
And you heard what I just said. I just said the same thing. It's like we've been upset for years, so it's just okay. But if the people who were open were not upset. They were uncomfortable.
That's the key word right there.
They were trying to understand. They sat through it. They listened. And they were open. their thoughts were open. So the thing is, yeah, it's going to be uncomfortable for a lot of people, because sometimes people who don't even realize, who may not be what we would say are racist people, but they don't realize that certain things they do are insensitive.
Yeah, it's conditioning.
Right.
It's human socialized conditioning that
Right.
happens and causes people to react and act in a certain manner or way within a certain situation, or with, about, and against certain people. So it's all of that. But girl, I'm gonna have to end this, because we'll be talking for another hour. And my producer is like, Diva, I said from 5 to 5:30. It is 5:34. I got to go. You're gonna have to stream this by yourself. But I want to have you. I want to have you back, and I will pre-tape it, and we'll just do like a really good deep dive of it, and I'll throw it up on my YouTube channel so that people can understand the whole diaspora of what the world is you navigate in. If that's okay with you.
Absolutely. And I have my ring light too. So
you have your ring light next time.
With all of this right here, I'm not feeling all that.
It don't look as bad. It don't look that bad on my
end. Out, girl. Good lighting. Good lighting. I'm sorry.
Right now. But thank you so much, Angie. I love you dearly. I really do.
Thank you. And thank you for reaching out. And it was nice to like get back in touch,
I know. Let's stay in touch from now on, okay?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Carla. I appreciate it.
It is my pleasure. Thank you, baby. Bye.
Have a great rest of your show.
Oh, man. Oh, y'all can see my door and everything. What happened? All right. So for I want to thank Angie Wells for coming on and talking with me and hanging out with me. And we had a few little issues getting her in here, but she got here. We had a nice, invigorating conversation, and I'm looking forward to seeing her soon. I'm about to kick her out of the studio. So when your screen go black, no, I just didn't knock you out. So there's that. For the constraints of time, I have uploaded the interviews with Danielle McDonald, Lucas Hedges, and Francesca Noel, who is in our #J, which is playing at the Sundance Film Festival. And I will do my reviews of the Sundance Film Festival next week with my little brother, Jeffrey. So for the constraints of time, I will go ahead and move forward to airing the interview with Colin Firth and Stanley Tucci, because I know there are people in the chat room waiting for that, and they have come here for that, and I did not want to disappoint in that respect. For the other interviews, you can see them on my YouTube channel, The Curvy Critic with Carla Renata. If you're already on the YouTube channel, then just scroll down to the one-on-one interview playlist and watch it there, or the I think the Press Junket playlist, and watch it there. So let me talk about this film, Supernova. Supernova is produced by BBC Films and Bleecker Street. Let me grab my notes real quick on that one, because I want to get everything right. Okay. So BBC Films and Bleecker Street, and it is directed, written by Harry McQueen, and it deals with a musician and a writer who take one last trip cross country for the sake of one of the partners, that person being Stanley Tucci's character, having one nice, long, good memory before he's not able to remember anymore. His character is suffering from Alzheimer's, dementia. He's a writer. So for somebody who writes or is artistic, that is the worst possible scenario that you could possibly be in. He slips down a slippery slope of memory declining, and it's painful and it's hurtful and is so heartbreaking to watch. But this is a performance by these two men. Stanley has been nominated for an Oscar. Colin Firth has won an Oscar for The King's Speech. These two men, I'd never seen them in a film together before. They're really, really good friends. Colin told me that Stanley was the person that got him the script and brought him onto the project. And Colin was like, look, here's a script where I get to work with a good friend of mine and kick it and do some really good work, bringing attention to a subject that people are afraid and embarrassed to talk about. because for the longest time, you know, we thought of dementia as people, we used to call it in the Midwest, we call it old timers disease. So we just thought it was something that happened when you got older, that you would just become forgetful. But now we know that Alzheimer's and dementia can happen to somebody at any age. It's a predisposed condition in some cases. And it needs to be dealt with accordingly as a medical condition and not swept under the rug and ignored. The way the subject is approached in Supernova is beautiful. It's done with dignity. It's done with realism, heart, and humanity. I really loved this film. I loved their performances in it. And my favorite part, though, is when they had that last little party. They had a little party. So before they went on the road trip, that was fun for me because I'm always down for a good party. But at any rate, I want y'all to take a look and a listen to the Curvy Critics interview with Mr. Colin Firth and Stanley Tucci from Supernova. I loved y'all in this film. I don't think I've ever seen either one of you do something of this nature. So for both of you, and I'll start with Stanley first, why this type of film and why right now?
I love the script. I thought it was beautiful. Absolutely beautifully written. A beautiful study of love and loss. And I'm a big believer in independent film. I've made a lot of them as a writer-director, but as an actor, and to me, it was just gorgeous.
It came via Stanley. He sent it to me, and the prospect of doing something with a dear friend whose talent I admire, you know, to this extent, felt irresistible. You know, I think it's not about just one thing. It's not about one particular disease. It's not, you know, even about one particular couple. I think there's so much in this which resonates for many people. Anybody who's lost somebody or fears losing somebody, which is probably everybody. You know, when I read it, I felt this was an incredibly honest, restrained attempt to explore that. You know, and to be specific, dementia kills a vast number of people. And, you know, this isn't the first movie that deals with the theme by any means, not even the only one this year. But given the scale of the problem, I don't think the number of films that treat this issue is proportionate. You know, I think we could have a million stories like this because it's happening on such an enormous scale. I mean, in the UK, it's approaching about 1 million people a year. You know, it's still the biggest killer of any disease. And so I honestly think that you can't tell the story enough.
I agree. It was a beautiful story. It was so lovely and so wonderful and emotional, and it touched my heart, and so did your performances. It really touched my heart. There's a line in the film, a couple of them actually, but the one that strikes me the most is the one where Stanley's character says, "I want to be remembered for who I was and not who I'm about to become." How do you think that is applicable to you all right now in your lives and in your career?
Courageous. But this idea that what you have in front of you is not how you want your people to remember you is devastating. And I think we will reach that point because we will all go through ill health at some point, and we will all die at some point. You know, so there does come a point when, you know, you're on that cusp of what's in front of you, what's behind you.
This is an intangible disease, and that is really, really, really scary. Aging in itself is scary, but having it exacerbated way too soon by this disease is frightening. And even doing the research was incredibly, it was heartbreaking and anxiety causing, because one fears death, one fears illness. And this illness is for me, is something that, yes, I would be very much afraid of.
Well, you know what I'm not afraid of? I'm not afraid of the joy and the humanity and the heart that both of you always give me in every performance that you do. I'm a huge fan of both of you. It's been my pleasure to speak with you today, and thank you so much, and good luck with the film.
Well, you're so nice. Thank you.
Fantastic thing to say.
You want to cry there, didn't you? Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you. I loved talking to them. I was so incredibly excited. And as I said to them, I'm a big fan of both of their work and was so honored to be able to have the opportunity to speak with them. So you guys, that is going to do it for this episode, my anniversary episode of 150 shows. The big 200 is coming up, and I got some really great things planned for that one. But until then, let me tell you what I'm going to talk about next week, as I always do. I have a Curvy Critic Classic, which is the wedding planner. It just celebrated 20 years this past week with Jennifer Lopez and Matthew McConaughey. I actually have a little clip of an old interview I did with Matthew McConaughey. Y'all will get a kick out of that one. And I will go over all of the Sundance films. If you want to check out some of the films at Sundance, it's virtual, so anybody can come. You don't have to fly to Utah and get on the slopes. Go to festival.sundance.org and you can see all of the films there. Next week, I will be back here, but it will not be a live show. It will be a taped show, and it will be with my brother, Jeffrey, and there'll be some interviews, and I will put it up online so that you guys can see what it is and who it is and where it is. But my brother and I have seen some of the same films, so we will sit and we will do a deep dive and discuss that, and my mom might even pop into the conversation. So it's going to be a family affair on the Curvy Critic with Carla Renata next week. I also have an interview with Shaka King, the director of Judas and the Black Messiah. I will have that review next week. I will also have some predictions because the Golden Globe nominations will be coming out this week. So I have some more predictions in the terms of Best Actor, Best Picture, so on and so forth. You guys know the drill. And yeah, let me see. I think that's all that I wanted to talk about next week. Oh, yeah. Hold up. Wait a minute. I have a review of Minari as well. That is being run out next week. And I will do the Best Actress, Best Supporting Actress, Best Supporting Actor predictions for the Golden Globes. And we're in the middle of award season, so my life is crazy. But if this is your first time joining me, please give me a big thumbs up to let me know you were here. Click that bell for notifications so that you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, so that you can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, everywhere that you see the Curvy Critic. That is moi. And I will have some wonderful content for you coming at you. I have interviews coming up with Andra Day. I have interviews with coming up with some creators from r#J, which is at the Sundance Film Festival. I got a lot of good stuff coming up for y'all. And I just want to give a shout out to the people that are in the chat room. My girl, Stacy Shakur, is coming in. Thank you for the compliment on the interview. Liv Lewis, who came here specifically to see Colin and Stanley. I hope you enjoyed that interview. Thank you for coming. My regulars, Brandon and Michael. Arkadush, thank you for coming in. And there are people that are on this stream today, y'all, that stayed up till 1:32 in the morning where they are to watch me. So I wholeheartedly appreciate you. All right. That is it for episode 150 of the Curvy Critic with Carla Renata. I will see you next week. Take it light, wash your hands, wear a mask, and I will see you on the flip side. Deuces.